Containers are risky due to their relatively new entrance on the scene. They're primarily used by DevOps organizations to deploy programs, and it happens all very quickly, especially if you compare them to virtual machines and other technologies where we've been used to it for many years. This causes security organizations to lag behind and not get the normal visibility they would on traditional infrastructure. So security organizations are struggling to catch up. And just like anything else, any other server, malware and other things can be installed in these containers. So security operations centers don't have all the tools and visibility they need to effectively monitor the environments. I would say the major disruption to expect is more supply chain attacks. They've been in the news recently, but containers are especially vulnerable to supply chains because the whole point of containers is to run applications at scale. And these are all based off of complex software packages with many dependencies. And many containers also don't get direct internet access. So that makes supply chain the real vector for attacking containers and getting into these environments. So the supply chains will probably be where we see the most threats to containers happen in the coming year. To me, the biggest challenge is complexity. Containers themselves are difficult to understand at first because they're so new. And then you add cloud onto it, which is a whole discipline in itself. And then you mix the two together because you can use Kubernetes to run containers. You can use Amazon EKS, which is a managed Kubernetes to run containers. Google has the same offerings. And then there's serverless ways to run containers, such as AWS Fargate, and then CI/CD pipelines like GitHub Actions can run containers. So containers fit into so many different pieces of the cloud that it's gets very complicated to keep track of them all. The main way I'd approach that is its visibility. And this kind of goes back, I used to be an incident responder, and so many attacks happen because of lack of visibility. So you need to have visibility into all these areas from a security perspective. And on top of that, you need a way to surface what matters. So as we mentioned, there's a lot of ways to run containers, and containers can do a lot of things. So you need to have the visibility and the tools to surface the threats. Sysdig, Falco, and Sysdig Secure is a SaaS platform that offers three kind of very interesting things. And I'm speaking as the director of threat research here at Sysdig, so it'll be skewed a bit towards threats, but it gives a very deep visibility into your cloud and your container environment. So for cloud, it has the CSPM, CIAM, and all those features, so understand your settings, your misconfigurations. But it also goes into all the runtime aspects, containers, and can tell you what's running, if it's good, bad, alert you to anomalous behavior, and things like that. It also comes in an extensive out-of-the-box rule set to detect these threats that's been sourced from the Falco open source community and the threat research team here at Sysdig. So we're constantly updating it with to detect new threats and making sure the rules work properly and are not very noisy. And finally, the third is Falco was born in open source. So it's been tested for many years in many different environments at large scales. So we have a very solid base that we built the platform off of with open source Falco. There are a lot of things it does, but I'll pick two. So one is machine learning. We built machine learning to help augment our threat detection rules. So our philosophy is generally to use rules, and then whatever rules aren't good at detecting, try to build machine learning into it. So it's a defense in-depth strategy, and it provides the best results. We also have a pretty interesting vulnerability management implementation where we can actually tell there's hundreds and thousands of vulnerabilities every year announced. But even if your package is vulnerable, you may not be using the pieces of code that have vulnerability in it. with our risk spotlight feature, you can actually see if the code that's vulnerable is being loaded and run. So it helps you prioritize even better all those thousands of vulnerabilities. So those are the kind of main two extra things I think of.